What are you doing?
Practicing. Welcome back. Look what's in the shop. I got some things to do to this bad boy today. And after just paying to plate half my vehicles, we all know we could use a little tea party in this world. I have been collecting stuff. Look at the boxes, 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 boxes. We got to get a few more things done to this. And we got to make it look a little more like a Land Rover, wouldn't you say? Starting with these. Some eBay special, I don't remember, it's like a box of 8 for 50 bucks or something. These are some eBay off-road lights. Don't know if they're any good. Don't even know if they work. Doesn't really matter, because if this thing goes on its lid, these are gonna be the first things to break, because we're gonna mount them right up here. Bam. And let's face it, the odds of these jalopies going in till the dark on a trail that's way too overbuilt for the rigs, it's high. Might as well have a little light. Easy enough, they're 2 inches apart. We'll just make 4-inch plates. And I wanna run 4 of them across the roof here. I think we can make that pretty easily. So 28 inches, we'll get it figured out. So what I did here is I mirrored these so that I can have a top passenger and a top driver. Pretty easy. Now we just gotta weld it on. And the reason I kind of went with this is because this is easier than making 4 brackets, is just making 2. And then that way, if I ever want to add more lights or move lights around, or if these get crushed and I need to add some better lights, I can do that later on also. One of the things that's really hard on your battery is welding on your rig with your battery connected. So I always disconnect the battery, and then that way, when I go to weld on it, I'm not arcing against the battery itself as it's grounded through the body. Just a little inside tip. Time to be ambidextrous. I went ahead and added a little gusset here into the back. Not really that it matters for these little light lights, but it makes me feel better anyway. Now, at first glance, and maybe on camera, these look like pretty darn nice lights. And on the front side, they got the look of really nice lights. The back, on the other hand, still screams China, and they're a lot thinner than they look this way. So I don't know how good they'll work. We'll try them out once we get them all wired in and everything. But at least now we can get them set up here and bolted in. Even the bracket's bent on it. Look at that. Man, even these boxes are just kind of falling apart. Hey, free bolt. Guess that's all I get. Bam. Would you look at that? Yeah. We're almost ready for a safari. But not quite, because you can't have a safari rig, a Rover, or a Land Cruiser or anything else without some max tracks. Once again, a wonderful product that I got off of the interwebs for cheap. This one's kind of cool though. It's got like a high lift holder in the middle. I guess you use those if you want to cut the sand. I don't know. These are obviously very common for overlanders and for people that get in like light sand duty situations. I want them because this is actually cheaper than buying a sheet of aluminum to put on the roof. Because as you know, in Sand Hollow, it can get a little warm. So I'm gonna mount these something like this, and at least we got a little bit of shade. Okay, so as I was trying to math out how I wanted to mount this, I just set one over here. I did not plan this, but look at that. It just fits perfectly. So now I'm in a conundrum. Do I just do some like metal plate up here and then put those on the side? Do I order 2 more of those? Because that looks kind of cool. Like, I gotta admit, I think that looks pretty rad. I know these aren't MaxTrax brand, but if I have 4 traction boards, that's 4 times the stuff that I can just stack up on the trail if we need to get this thing up and over a hump. Decisions. Well, while I keep thinking about that, one of the things I need to do here is tie a tube in right here, because I want to get this tied in down and then through here down to here where I have the support going to the frame. And then I want to add one more up to this kicker. That way this thing has total structure. So right here down is going to be huge for this rig. So we'll go ahead and just do that. That'll be something to knock together real quick. I just need to notch it. The easiest way to do that is just whoop, and then whoop. There we go. Then, just so you know you got your notch straight, do a quick little turn ski. Ta-da! Oh yeah, look at that. Wamba lamba. Good deal. This is the exact reason why I haven't put all of this harness that goes to the back up on this cage yet, because I wanted to weld this up first before I ran it up into here in this tube going up and over. So now we can burn it in and get the wiring harness on. I knew these trashed out boxes would come in handy for something. So back when I built my 4Runner, when I put my rock sliders in, one of the hot coals shot over and caught my fuel pump wiring. Now it didn't affect it when I was driving. It affected it when it was raining or snowing out. And that's when I noticed I'd lose power. And it took me forever to figure that out. Once I found it, I was like, oh, this is dumb. It made sense. But until then, I was really struggling to figure out why the vehicle was running cruddy in bad weather. And while I was playing with the tubing, I went ahead and took my affordable bender, made a little grab handle for the passenger. Everybody forgets about the passenger. Granted, if you get in a rollover, you should grab your harness and hold on, but they don't have something to hold on to regularly that doesn't have their hand outside the cage or outside the door. Oh, that's hot. Whew. Don't put your wrist on it. Now, I know when I did this cage and when I've done other cages and other tube work, I've talked about every single time if you're using A-True, the electric welded with the seam, that you always want to have that seam on the inside of your bend, because if it's on the outside, I've seen it crack. And just today, I went to the metal store, bought some metal, and sure enough, they had 2 bends there with A-True, and the one had the seam on the outside and it split open. I'll show the picture right here. You guys can see it for yourself. This is what I'm talking about. So if you're ever bending seam tubing, you always want to put the seam on the inside of the bend. Just things to remember when you're on a budget. Now, if you guys remember when I had this out last time, I had my Land Rover cover on here, and I had to take it back off because one of the things that's been plaguing me, if you remember when I did the other tires, I put new valve stems on, but I didn't put one in here because I was trying to save money, trying to be cheap. Of course, this one looked good, and I can sit here and I can get air out of it by just doing that. Now, the last thing I want, if I break an axle, I need a full thing of air, and I might need this tire. So I'm gonna have to change this out, but I don't want to break the bead. And the way I'm gonna do that is with one of these. Ain't much air left in there. Time to go away. So even though this valve stem actually does look good, it's a high pressure valve stem. This is designed to hold like 60, 80 PSI in tires, not 20. Probably why it was bleeding off on me. All right, now the trick is this part gets squished in the second you get that in there. So you push the rubber all the way in, just like that, and you keep pressure on it, and then you can just tighten it up. As you're tightening it up, it's pulling this part into this rubber, expanding the rubber on the back side. So pretty simple setup. But these Colby valves are a lifesaver. Looks like we're holding air now. And no leaky. win. Much betterest. All right, I've thought about it. I'm gonna put these on the side, and I found some expanded metal that I can still put on the roof. So give us a little bit of shade, still give us some protection if we were to go on our lid and rocks were to hit. So I think that's the route I'm gonna go. For this, I got some really thin 16 gauge box tubing that I'll just weld up to here and up to here. There's some holes in there somewhere right there. And then we'll just do bolts and nuts. Simple enough. Weld blanket time. Let me take you with me over here so I can do this side. All right. Move it all around like I have cameras everywhere when I'm just carrying one around. There we go. Perfect. Now let me go get that expanded metal. Now let's hope I measured this right. Oh yeah. Look at that. Coolest among us. Now this is gonna do two things. Number one, it's gonna help keep some shade on our heads. Number two, it is actually gonna help prevent rocks and debris. If you land on your roof, if you ever seen why rock buggies run roof panels on there, this is why. You're actually required to have a roof cover in competition. You can't just have a soft top or something like that. So with this being said, knowing that this thing might end up on its lid, I would rather be safe than sorry. We'll put this here. Worst case scenario, I have somewhere to store a cooler. Now I was just sitting up there, so I know it's stout. Whew, all right. Time to turn on that fan. Oh yeah. Okay, so I was contemplating how I wanted to mount this. I talked about that box steel that was gonna come up and then do bolts. The thing I was thinking about though is if I need to get this out in a quick minute, I don't wanna have to have bolts that I have to unbolt. I think I'm just gonna zip tie it, because like realistically, I can run zip ties right around this, just bam, 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 bam on these little handle holds, and they're there. And then if I need it, I always carry a knife. I can just and pull them out and use them. So that's how we're gonna do that. Might even try to find bungee cords. If I find bungee cords, you know, the little ones with the ball and the loop, maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know. Either way, I'm done with that. The next thing I need to do is something that's been very crucial to this. We have a whole cage. We have no way to stay harnessed in. Obviously, seatbelts. And what better way to source my safety on a Jalopy than to order some seatbelts from China? So, we'll see if we can get these in. They are 5-point harnesses. I mean, they should be better than nothing. They even say, way to go, sport. Let's try it out. Now, one of the crucial things of why I put this bar back here at the shoulder height of the seat is because this is where you want your upper harness to be. Your harness should be basically flat. It can have a little bit of taper, but not much, because what happens is if you do roll and they're down, they'll actually try to pull you down and compress your spine. That's how people break their back. Where if you have it flat, that's what it's supposed to do. It's just supposed to keep your chest back. Your lap and your 5-point harness are what's supposed to keep you in the seat, if you didn't know. Look at that. Green and red. It's like Christmas in here. Or like New Mexico chili peppers. Because I already have a bar here, I could just get rid of the tab and wrap it around the bar, which is actually probably stronger than running off of a little tab. Mostly because this tab slot isn't even as wide as the seatbelt, so the seatbelt's actually folded in on this, which I don't know if that's better or worse. As you might be able to notice, the seatbelt comes in, around, back up through, and then back over and back through again. That is actually the proper way to keep this from getting loose. Now I'm gonna leave this loose because I haven't adjusted my seatbelt length yet, but that's how you would want to set this up if you're putting them together. Rubber band, pew. See what I mean? Now, one of the things I went with is a quick disconnect, meaning all these just snap in. So every one of these, even the 5th point harness that goes between your legs, just snaps in like so. And then if I just do this, bam, they're loose and you can get out. That makes it nice. If you roll over and catch your rig on fire, you can get out quick, so you don't pull a Ricky Bobby.
Oh my God, help me, I don't want to die.
Hey, they're good for another year. So I got the shoulder harnesses on. Now we need to get the lap belt parts on. And the nice thing about this rig especially is that the seat is mounted in its own deal, and then where the seat belts mount are actually a unit that's welded to the body. So you can see here, this is its own solid mount, separate of the seat mount. So I'm gonna go ahead and remount the new belts in the stock position of where these were, and at least then the lap belts are on their own, mounted to the body situation. If the seat bracket were to ever break, the seat belt is still there where it should be. Lots of nuts and washers in here. Don't know if that's factory. Now here's where the old seat belt was mounted. And what I have here is actually some leftover bolts that I had from a harness style seat belt. So this little thing here actually sits inside and then allows the seat belt to still move. It's like a little spacer. So when we put this together, I will actually have this thing spaced and guarded where we won't have any issues. And it even has a lock nut, if I can get the nut stuck. There we go. And just like that, seatbelt can still move. We're good to go. All right, so I got the seatbelts in minus the 5-point part of the harness. So Shanna's here, and I'm gonna have her jump in the passenger seat, and we'll see how these seatbelts line up.
It's so spongy.
Go get in that slinky. And I was just kind of guessing, so you might have to play with it a little bit. And these, yank them down.
Snug as a bug in a rug.
You still grab the handle? Oh yeah, look at that. Perfect. That's pretty good setup. While I don't have the perfect setup for a 5-point harness, because normally it goes through the seat, I'm still gonna mount it up front. And the way I'm gonna do that is with these. These are just spare seatbelt tabs from the seatbelts, but these ones are not powder coated. I actually got these from my friends at Ultimate UTV Performance in Farmington because they're always putting 4-point harnesses in side-by-sides. So they have a lot of extras these because they get the same deal with the loop on the back, over back there. And these ones aren't powder coated, so they'll be easier to weld up. Time to weld. Catching wires on fire. So now I got my 5-point harness on the plate that's down here. I'm gonna do the same to the other side. Shanna's gonna run to the store and grab some more of these, because this is what I'm thinking. I'm just gonna do this. That way we can quickly pull it on and off if we need them. Odds are we're probably gonna need them with this Tea Party Rover lander we're building.
Got him. Let's get him home to Colt. What are you doing?
Practicing. But harnesses are in. I'm all buckled down.
5-point
5
everything?
points of protection.
Nice.
So we're good.
Yeah, look at that.
These should work perfect for just strapping around here. That'll keep this thing from going anywhere. And it'll be quick if we need to pull them off. Starting to look like a Rover lander now. So one of the next things I need to do is put shocks on it. Remember, the shocks that were on it were wore out. Plus they weren't even the right length because it had a little lift kit. And I still have to have shocks to actually test it, because this thing is a slinky. And if you guys are familiar with these Land Rover Discoveries, then you know finding shocks for them is a little bit tough because they're very awkward and they have post to post and all kinds of weird stuff. I reached out to Skyjacker and they actually were able to make me something that works. Bam. We're gonna throw some Skyjacker shocks on. By the way, too, Skyjacker is a family-owned business, been around for over 50 years. There's one of the reasons why I use them. They have a little bit of everything. Great for parts. If you're looking for parts to like put on something or another, change your shocks, change your coils, change your leaf springs, they usually have it in stock. And they're one of the people that gave me a discount code for you guys, 10% off anything in their store. And the code is real simple. It's just Colt builds it. Hey, look, a Pokemon. Charizard. No, this one's War Turtle. Gotta collect them all. I see a lot of people struggle on getting the little polyurethane rubber in a shock. If you just do this, it'll go in every time. That was easy. I cannot believe that Skyjacker has a shock that's eyelet to post, and that's actually the way it's supposed to go. Like, look, there's the correct right side up markings and everything. Oh yeah. So if you guys are familiar with how the front of these are, they're post to post, meaning there's a post on both ends of the shock. And because of the length I needed, because I got extra flex going on here, Skyjacker had a post to loop. But what they did is they went through all their stuff and they found me a bracket that's actually offset, because the way this axle on a radius arm folds downward, it folds it down like that, so the shock will stay center of the coil. They made this little bracket here, and that's gonna work for the front. Let me show you how it works. So now, even though I went to the trouble of drilling this out so that I could get a socket up in here, it's gonna be a lot easier to just take that bolt out and get that shock out when I need to remove it for the no shock day. And you can see there how it's centered in the coil with that taper. Like I said, they've been around a long time. They understand how things work. I didn't have to give them that. I just gave them the shock links, told them what they were, and they gave me all this. So that's why I can't stress enough that if you just need parts especially, maybe check out Skyjacker, because they probably have the shock or can make the part that you need for your rig. Boom. Boom. Look at that. Yeah. Yes. Let's put some shock towers in. What? Money. Boom. All right, so I still got one shock tower to do and a couple other things to wrap up, but Shanna made dinner, so I'm gonna eat dinner and then I'll come right back out, finish this thing up. Do you guys ever get hangry? I get hangry after a while. More like, I don't know how you say that, ornery? So harnery, maybe? I don't really get angry, but I get harnery. And I start just like, poking and prodding. So I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna eat, and then we can knock this thing in the head. All right, we got the shocks on. Let's see the difference now. That's everything I got. I wasn't even trying before. I was just yanking it and the thing was like a big slinky. So that's gonna be a huge difference for testing this thing, but we still got to do the front axle and a bumper. This thing hangs way too low. I also need to wire up the lights, but I don't know if we'll bore you guys with that. Unless you want to see it, let me know down below. We'll put it in the next video. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you on the next one. I know Matt's Off-Road Recovery is getting excited to see this thing, so might have to bring it out there at some point.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Bye. Way to go, sport.